So as we look at this again, like being daring, what does the word work mean to you? What are your goals? And on Friday we talked about pushing your goals, but now when I started to think about the goals and what we put down on paper, what a lot of us don't do or gravitate towards normally or immediately is also where I was faltering. There was no who, what, when, where, why around the things that I wanted to create. And by sheer force, again, I can make things happen by sheer force. But the problem is eventually whatever I'm looking to push or move or manipulate or alter without any kind of a plan is destined to fail. It just is. And the most bizarre part about having a plan for me is that I never wanted it to seem like I had to have a plan, that I had to have actionable items in order to move through things. And even though I've seen and unseen this a million times, whenever I did have a plan and a structure and a beginning, a middle, and an end towards a goal or something I wanted to implement, the level of achievement went up dramatically in comparison to, oh, I just want to do this week. And I'm also going to pull up the Monday and Friday goal sheets that I sent all of you as well. Because the thing is if I'm not seeing it, and I will tell you, there's a lot of times I don't want to see it. I don't want to be reminded of it. I don't want to know that I have to do something in order to get a result a lot quicker. But what I have found out over time is that even if I want to unsee this stuff, I can't. But I do try to put the mask over my own eyes at times. I do. I don't want to see it. And on my coaching call this morning with my friend, I feel like I'm now in a place where I am not going to unsee it anymore. I am moving towards forward progress. I have mentally accepted that what we're doing here, albeit, a small group this morning, but we're growing. There is no cancerous thought in my head that's wanting to derail me from building this. Regardless of how long it takes, I'm always looking to adjust. So who's in my life, right? I've hired people. So let's just look at this. I'm going to digest this with all of us right now. Who is in my life to help me build this aside from me? I have hired staff. What are we doing? What are our roles? And I have defined those, and those will keep getting defined and adjusted and tweaked as I go through this. And I'm going to come back to the coaching call that I was on this morning and explain why all of this is so relevant to all of you and what it is that you want to create. When am I trying to achieve this by? It's not just now, but my goal is to get this up to 1,000 members. I don't have to say now. I was just talking to my mom before I was on this call, and I told her, what I was doing. And by the end of the year, I'm looking to have 500 members, right? By midpoint, 12 months from now, I'm looking to have 1,000 members. It could happen sooner, it could happen later. I'm not sure yet, but I've given myself a target. Where am I doing this? Well, what I've proven to you guys that have been on these calls last week is I can do them from anywhere. I was at the airport in TJ flying to Cabo. I made the call there. Another call, I was on my way ziplining. I did it in the minibus and talked to you guys. Where will we be? Yes, we'll be on Zoom from now on, but where can I do this? Where doesn't have to just be one spot. Where is like a multitude of things based on what we're trying to achieve. I can be anywhere and do this. And as I was digesting that, it made me incredibly happy because it doesn't matter where I am in the world anymore. Nothing matters other than I set my time, I time block, I know where I'm at. This is what I do. And this is our medium, right? This is it. And the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this is because I've denied myself where my pleasure lies when it comes to work. I've just allowed myself to build up my future in real estate, but I just kept doing real estate because it's all I've known for roughly 30 years. And that has become an automatic default. And now that I'm breaking the bonds of real estate to a degree to alter what I do for work, how I say, and explain myself as to what I'm doing with work, there's been like angst and different anxieties and things that I've had to adjust. But my why is big enough for me to tackle that stuff with unrelenting passion so that I can continue to grow this and steer myself on a path that actually makes me happy. I will always be eternally grateful for real estate. I will never let real estate go, but I will relinquish part of what I do in real estate to Dave's on the call right now, right? So Dave's part of my team for the day-to-day operations and client stuff. Joe's on my team for social media and marketing. And it's like, how do I build infrastructure in order to? And my why is big enough to do that. And the how, right? How am I going to do this? Well, first of all, I've had to accept that I'm doing this. And acceptance is a part of denial, right? In order to get through denial, we have to accept what's really going on. And I have to be willing to accept the change of what's really going on because my why is big enough. And if I can see all of these things, if I can understand where I'm going, which is the opposite of how I've built my entire life, I just do. It might not be pretty, but I just do. I don't want to just do anymore, right? I don't want to just do anymore. I want to know who's in my world, what I'm looking to do, who is also going to be part of my infrastructure, who my students and my clients are, right? All of those things. Like, as we go through all of this, I want to understand who and how and what and where and why am I doing all of these things? Because if I can answer all of those questions, then I'm not lost. And if I'm not lost in this, it's a lot easier to stay on track because I'm not beating myself up mentally with anything that we're doing anymore. So for all of you right now that are in front of your computers, if you can also open up the email where I sent you the accountability forms that I use for my coaching. And we'll take a quick second and I'm going to do the same. So I'm just going to share my screen again and I want to pull this up. So this form, there's a Monday form and a Friday form. This is what changed a big part of my life because I started to be able to see what was in my world, right? So who my accountability buddy was, what we were celebrating that day, both personally and professionally, because I don't believe we celebrate often enough, what our monthly goal is for what we're looking to achieve, both personally and professionally, so that we can have different parts of our life that we're working on that I believe we can't leave one, we can't just focus on one without the other. And then professionally, what do we want, right? So over the years, as I've been using this form, I declare what I want to work towards achievement in a month. And also on Wednesday, where have I gotten to in that achievement? And I do that as well with my personal. So I'm checking in all the time. And then who do I need to be, right? Do I need to be open-minded? Do I need to be closed-minded? Do I need to be just absolutely adamant? Do I have to let go? Who am I? What action steps am I going to take towards those? Like, what are the things I'm going to do? What will get in my way? And this is honest accountability. And what will I change about my way of being? And so as I started using this form and making it more and more of my daily life, the only thing that changes on Friday, this form is exactly the same, but at the very bottom, it's what did you learn this week? And there were so many experiences that I've had using this form because it showed me how much greater my capacity really is than I was giving myself credit for. And as I started to move through all those things, and I was always putting better systems and structures in place, and I was succeeding more than I was failing, what starts to happen when you tip the scales? What starts to happen when you visibly see how your life is altering? What happens, right? You start to believe. And when you start to believe, now you start to have an emotion that you can tie yourself to that shows you who you are. and what you can do. And something I heard, another quote this morning while I was doing, my success meditations and listening to things. It was a quote by Oscar Wilde, and he was talking about accountability and responsibility. And he said that that's something that we want out of others. But yet he didn't say that that's something we expect out of ourselves. So I want you to focus on that, because the truth is as we look outward, we get very disappointed when people let us down. Yet how often do we let ourselves down? And what kind of responsibility do we take for that? And that's the kind of that I want to get past. That's the responsibility that I want all of us to accept. Is it can't be that we put it all on everybody else, yet back to Michael Jackson with The Man in the Mirror is where it's all supposed to start, and we don't do it. So I'm trying to shift the most basic things in the world on these calls, which are look inward. Don't just blame outward. Look inward. What are you doing? What do you want? Who, what, when, where, how, and why are you going to make these changes? And you can't deny yourself. And the way I'm going to close out this call is the same way I talk to my students when I teach at the real estate boards, where today I'm going to be teaching. And I just let them know that if you're living an unbalanced work life, right? Like if you're trying to achieve different things in your professional desire to be a successful, whatever it is, in my world, it's real estate agent, and you are not doing the necessary steps in order to successfully work on converting a prospect into a client, then what do you have? And that's where I work from an acronym, right? In real estate, it's LP Mama. If I don't ask them about location, a price point, who is going to help them with their financing or mortgage, right? Are they paying cash for the property? Who their professional is as far as an agent that they're working with, what their motivation is regarding timing or how desperately they want to buy. Then when I go to set the appointment, if I didn't clarify and ask all of those questions where I drilled down to the root, I'm not going to have a client. I'm hoping and I'm praying that they ultimately turn into something. But if I'm not following a plan, which in real estate, I have the most steadfast acronym that I always go through, and I drill down to the bottom so that as I'm drilling, I know if I'm going to hit oil or gold or the minerals I'm looking for, or if I'm coming up empty because they didn't satisfy me with the answers they provided. And when I say satisfy me, all I mean is that, hey, if they don't have the money, we can't work together. If they're not looking to do this year, we're not going to work together. If they're likely not going to be moving to San Diego, but they were only exploring and I got the online lead, and the likelihood is they're going to be somewhere in the Northeast, of the country, then what am I really focusing on? I'm going to be there for them to see if they move here, but even though everything else checked out, there's only a 10% chance they're moving here. Where do they fit on my scale? A, B, C, D, or eject, right? And sometimes we give so much focus on people that we know are not going to need our services, but yet we just want to focus on something and try to believe and make it happen and force it. And because my dad always taught me about paint them a picture, I just didn't want to put a puzzle together where I'm trying to force that piece in. I'm trying to force that piece. I can't force that piece of a puzzle. We've all put puzzles together, and that one looks so close, and you're trying and you're manipulating. It's like, finally you squeeze it in and you ruin the edges. It's like, oh yeah, that didn't really go there. So all I want from all of you on this call this morning is to be honest, right? Be honest with yourselves. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you asking the right questions? Are you thinking around what you're looking to implement? Or are you just kind of like diving headfirst into the pool that you checked? Did it have water? Did it not have water? And believe it or not, people die every year from jumping into an open pool. They just do. Or they dive in too shallow, right? Because they didn't check. And then they hit their head and they become either a quadriplegic, paraplegic, or they pass away. Like, and it's the most basic thing. It only would have taken a second to check. But we choose not to because we don't want to make ourselves feel like a failure and you can fill in the blanks. So we compromise ourselves in order to. And how much BS is that? And how much BS have we told ourselves over the years? And why do we continue to do it? We continue to do it because we don't have a plan. And even if we have that plan, it's a BS plan. Because we know it can be improved on and we don't focus on improving it. Because we have a plan, we say we have a plan. Even though the plan was riddled with potholes, potential failure, and all these things, we just did not drill down on who, what, when, where, why, and how. We didn't. And so that's what we have to focus on today. So when you get out there and you're going to do what you're doing, before you start, ask yourself, am I actually jumping into what I'm supposed to be jumping in right now? Or do I need to revisit this right now? Because I'm reminding you to actually take a look at it. I'm not giving you the excuse of, all right, go kick today. Great. Whatever you have is working. It probably isn't. And that's part of why we're here, is so that we can inch forward all the time. And I don't care if you have nothing in place right now. I don't care if what you have in place isn't working right now. All I care about is that you're going to honestly look at that and work to adjust it and make it better and be honest about it. And that's it. That's all I care about. So I'm going to wrap up today. We went a bit long. There's going to be some growing pains, I'm assuming, this week. But please, who, what, when, where, why, and how around everything that you're doing. Because if you're not, nobody's going to do it for you. And the longer you avoid it, the longer you're going to stay stuck. All right? I'll catch y'all mañana. Thank you for being on today. And this is going to be awesome. Thanks, everybody.